Good afternoon, and thanks for joining us today. You know, during the holidays, we've got many traditions, some new and some old, and Emily and I are delighted to keep with our annual tradition of sharing with you, our partners, the innovations we've been testing in the market that will be broadly available to all partners this coming cycle. Those innovations come in a few shapes and sizes across our marketing and analytics teams. On the larger side, I'm hoping most of you heard we've expanded our EAB family just this past week with the acquisition of UVisit, the leading provider of campus virtual tours. And we look forward to sharing with you today some early thoughts on how we plan to integrate that technology into our work together. But before I get too much farther, let's do some quick introductions. First, hi, I'm Hope Kreutz. I serve as Senior Vice President of Partner Success for what we do at EAB Enrollment Services.
And hi everyone, my name is Emily Bauer and I'm the Vice President of Program Marketing at EAB. My background is in user experience design, so I really sit at the intersection of creative and analytics and technology, and I'm very excited to be here today to talk about all the ways that we're enhancing our partnership this year.
Awesome, thanks Emily. So a couple of logistics. First, there are two ways to listen in to our discussion today. So either use your computer speakers or use your telephone, follow the instructions in the webinar email, confirmation email you've got in your inbox. And in addition, given the number of folks on the line today, we have muted all the lines, but that doesn't mean we don't want your questions. So there is a Q&A button at the bottom of your screen. Submit any questions you have across the presentation, and we've reserved some time at the end to answer as many of them as we possibly can. In addition, there will be a survey at the end of the webinar where we'd welcome your feedback on the content you're hearing today. Okay, so those are all the logistics. So let's get into our discussion. I've got a few grounding slides in terms of what we're seeing in the market and with Gen Z, and they've really informed our guiding principles for the enhancements. Once we do that, then we'll jump into the enhancements themselves. And then finally, we did reserve a couple minutes at the end to make sure Emily can share what she's working on and that is still in the lab for future cycles. All right, so when we talk about the future, you know, so many enrollment leaders are focused on the demographic cliff of 2026. And while this is an important shift that's going to impact all of us, we actually believe the competition and the challenge is real and it's now. And there are three important trends that are unfolding that are going to impact how we recruit our next 1, 2, 3 entering classes. First, we've seen some downward pressure in headcount gains, not always translating to revenue gains, meaning incremental student headcount for no real additional revenue lift. And depending on your campus priorities, this can force some pretty tough trade-off conversations with your cabinet and with other leaders on campus, and creates a pretty precarious dance as we talk about what it means to continue to hit enrollment goals. Second, as you all know, NACAC voted to remove a set of provisions in their Code of Ethics this fall, specifically around early decision and the recruitment of students once they've deposited and or enrolled at another four-year university. We took a survey of enrollment managers back in November, and while only 13% were planning to take action this cycle, there was another 40% that could be categorized as watchfully waiting, meaning they'd really like to keep with the spirit of the provisions, but when push comes to shove in the market, they are ready to act. And then third, while the promise of state-based testing is strong, meaning more students taking college-going tests than ever before, the administration of those tests has created a lot of volatility at the state level, due both to how those contracts are written and potential privacy concerns with the sharing of student information, as well as the administering of the tests themselves and collecting the right demographic information. So that's the environment we're recruiting in. As important as that environment is, what is even more important are the students and their parents that we're actually recruiting. So what have we learned about Gen Z across the past year or two and how they're showing up in the recruitment process? Well, what you've got on the slide are three critical recruitment drivers with Gen Z. First, on the left, they're starting their college search earlier than ever before, over half of them starting in sophomore year or prior. Second, they're looking for information that's truly relevant to them as individuals. And third, parents are playing an incredibly important role for this generation, and parents are showing up as a major influencer in driving application behavior and beyond. And then with Gen Z, Over a third of them are showing up in your applicant pool, having never made themselves known during the search process. And as many of you know, we've been on about an 18-month research effort to truly define the personas of Gen Z, not just what they tell us about their approach to searching and selecting colleges, but also what the data tells us about their behavior. And we're going to be debuting our latest research here in the early spring, but we wanted to preview a really important finding that's in that research. Specifically, the decision tree for how a Gen Z student creates their consideration set in terms of the schools that they want to consider applying to and potentially going to, it's changed for millennials. So what you've got on the left is how a millennial makes a decision about going to college, or how they did make a decision. First, can I get accepted into the school? Second, does the school offer the right programs for me? And then third, can I afford it? With Gen Z, they put cost first, front and center. So with the millennials, if they were putting value before cost, Gen Z puts cost, if not equal to, at sometimes ahead of value. With the first question being, can I afford this school? The second question, do they offer the right program for me? And then, can I get accepted? And this personas-based research we've been doing has also been backed up by a study we did with feedback from over 6,000 high school seniors back in April. And that's the data that's at the bottom. So over a third of them stating they limit schools they apply to based on financial concerns. And then on the bottom right, the number of students who historically would select the best college they got into, regardless of the package they received, has been cut in half compared to just 3 to 5 years ago. Now, as most of you know, we've spent the past 2 cycles obsessed about influencing students at the point of choosing, whether that be with the application experience itself or the analytics that monitor and prescribe action with applicants and admitted students. But this new research is getting us even more obsessed about how do we drive the behavior as a student is creating that consideration set in the first place, and how do we move our focus up funnel. And also, how do we remember as we think about the student's experience, we're in an age of multiple devices, multiple channels, multiple outlets, and ultimately these are individual humans with unique experiences. You know, we've always centered our work on meeting students in their voice, where they are, when they are ready. Those principles still apply, but what does that really look like in 2020 and beyond? So as we think about the enhancements for this year, and really for the next few, there are 4 guiding principles in our work. First, how do we amplify the number of entry points that effectively engage prospective students? Second, how do we break through the noise in a student's inbox, in their social media feed, when they're browsing online? Third, how do we engage the student beyond that initial interaction? And then fourth, how do we harness all of this additional data to provide you with real insight in the moment? And ultimately, this is coalescing into 2 big themes. On the left, how do we optimize the digital experience, whether that be for students and or parents? And then on the right, how do we provide you as enrollment managers with 360-degree enrollment intelligence? So as I mentioned before, our obsession for this cycle is with how students are creating that initial consideration set. And so for the remainder of the presentation, Emily and I will share with you the 8 enhancements planned for this cycle, as well as a couple of those projects that are still in the lab. So Emily, let me turn it over to you to talk a little bit about what's changing on the student and parent front.
Awesome, thank you. So I thought we would just kick off taking a look specifically at what is going to kind of evolve over time here for the student and parent experiences. Because it's so important to understand people in order to understand the trends that matter, I'll try to help tell these stories and help them come to life by looking at the enhancements through the eyes of a student. So meet Gabby. Gabby is a high school sophomore, and she is on your radar, so to speak. And that's really because she has taken her ACT test and her score is within your test band, so she is a known and desirable student to you. In her story, Gabby takes her ACT in the spring and is all excited about college, but as things stand right now, she really doesn't hear from many schools until around the September timeframe. Now, we all understand the importance of timing, and so an improved user experience for Gabby would entail you being in front of her earlier than September just to ensure your message is seen and when it's most top of mind for her. So in recognition of that fact, the first enhancement really that we are introducing is what we're calling Summer Search, and that's going to give you the ability to connect with Gabby in a more timely manner and closer to when she is actually taking the right actions. So true to form, we've actually been testing this concept for a while now and measuring the impact of a summer launch in the search campaign. And as you can see here, the results from 5 of those test schools show significant lifts in each and every case. The control approach is really in the light gray bar and indicates the original September launch timing. And the test approach is in the dark gray bar and indicates a new July launch timing. At the end of the day, the earlier summer launch shows a considerable lift in response rate when compared to September, but it also shows an overall increase in search responders anywhere between 15 and 30%. So we're very excited to update the marketing playbook with summer search, ensuring that you are timing your outreach as close as possible to when students like Gabby are really taking those key steps. So that's enhancement number 1. But let's continue the story of Gabby. So now she is seeing material from many schools, but has passed on responding thus far because she hasn't found anything to be particularly moving yet. So upon inspection, we can see that the content she's receiving is flat, it's impersonal, and probably even fairly generic. A more effective way to grab Gabby's attention is to provide her with more engaging experiences, meaning serving content that lives or breathes and is accessible to her immediately. So in recognition that students today have grown up in an on-demand world where VR and gamification is a standard practice, EAB will be adding a quote-unquote sweetener offer to your search campaign. And this sweetener will be highly interactive so that it enriches the experience Gabby is having with you. Number 1, we're going to add an additional offer. And number 2 here, we're going to ensure that fulfillment is instantaneous because we also know that the way students live is the way that they like to learn, i.e. on demand. So let's take a closer look at what this enhancement actually means. One of 2 interactive offer approaches will be added to your search campaign. There will either be a call out to an immersive and incredibly interactive virtual tour created by our UVisit team, or there will be a call out to a fun and interactive personality quiz through which a student can learn something more about themselves. To be clear, your primary public service oriented offer is not going away. That is still a critical component of success in your campaign. Rather, these new interactive offers will be additive to what is already there, helping amplify your message as well as differentiate your engagement. Now, virtual tours have been shown to transform visitors into active participants. They increase time on page really to an average of about almost 10.5 minutes and can also increase the campus visit metric by about 27%. Interactive quizzes gamify the student experience, and testing has shown a 23% lift in search response rate when this approach is incorporated in your campaign work. So the good news here is that both interactive offer approaches are really strong, and they just better address the reality that students have far higher and different expectations when it comes to the types of digital experiences they want to engage with. And last but not least here, on the right-hand side, as I mentioned a moment ago, we are moving toward a digital fulfillment delivery format because yes, it is more cost efficient for you, but mostly because students simply do not want to wait. In our on-demand world, being first to delivery is actually a proxy for being first to help the student. And we know that when a student feels supported by a school, that student just forms a stronger bond with the school, and that can lead to very meaningful outcomes further down the funnel. To give you a better idea of what this could look like, here's actually an example of how a virtual tour can be called out on your search landing page. So we're going to create a special content section from which a student can click to interact with your tour. In addition, though, to the landing page update, we're actually enhancing your email copy and social media ads and paper mailing too, so that every channel in your search outreach program is promoting this immersive and interactive experience alongside of those other key messages that you are sending. And so here is an example of what that looks like. Now, once in the experience, a student can interact with what we call quote unquote action zones to learn more about a building or a program or student life, or even explore more of the campus grounds or hear directly from students just like themselves. The point here is that flat media is going to fall flat with Gen Z. This virtual tour will better convey your culture, showcase your programs, create more meaningful engagement, and ultimately more meaningful results as well. And so the good news is that your tour is also completely mobile friendly, meaning that students can access the tour anytime from anywhere using any device. It really seeks to optimize the digital student journey and captures more of a student's quote unquote digital body language, which of course we're excited to use to unpack new insights as well. And lastly, the tour really layers interactive content on top of interactive content, producing this really immersive experience again that just maximizes the assets that you have and gives students that really ultimate exploration tool. So I'm excited we were able to showcase a little bit of what those experiences look like because we know how important that will be for students really understanding what your campus is offering them. Now, in addition to the virtual tour, the second interactive sweetener we touched on is the interactive quiz. And here's an example of what one of those looks like. This type of captivating digital experience allows students to really have fun and make memorable interactions with schools. And who doesn't love a quick challenge or a personality quiz or a major match or really game? Those gamified campaigns can help foster stronger student relationships and thus drive more impactful results. So we're really excited to help you change the nature of engagement by integrating friendly polling and providing that sense of excitement into the search experience in one of these two really enhanced ways. So, good news, Gabby has now engaged with your search campaign. But when she responded, unfortunately, she did not share her parents' contact information. And the important thing to do when that happens is, one, keep asking Gabby to provide that information in your follow-on communications with her. And two, remove Gabby as the middleman. Go directly to the parent. And EAB is excited to help you do that by expanding the parent marketing strategy, and here's how that is going to work. So first and foremost, EAB has always seen student site parents as key influencers at least 3 times more often than they cite any other individual. And testing has shown that marketing to parents boosts overall campaign performance. And because of that knowledge, we introduced over 10 years ago a highly effective parent engagement strategies where students are at the center of the controls. And currently, we see 41% of search responders provide their parent contact information. But what about the percentage of responders that don't do that? And what about the percentage of students who never respond? How do you capture parent data in those instances? Well, that's what the second approach here is really doing. This is the enhanced state for parents. And we're able to apply data science to national consumer data sets, and using a proprietary matching algorithm, we're able to identify the parents of the students that you are marketing to. So on average, we see about a 30% family match rate, which roughly translates to about 3 times as many conversations with parents as you might have been able to have otherwise if you were just relying on the student to provide the information. So the impact of this approach is very clear. What you're looking at here are the application rates associated with a student-only marketing experience versus a student and marketing experience, or a parent marketing experience. A student engaging with your search campaign and providing their parent contact information is going to ultimately have an application rate of about 18%, but a student and parent engaging with you during search will go on to have an application rate of around 26%. Now, there are many benefits of expanding the parent marketing approach. It clearly can lift application rates, which is great, but it also maximizes your parent reach, and it gives you a workaround for those non-responding students too, because we're seeing parents nominate those students when they don't respond otherwise. Now, EAB will be writing new parent contact emails for your search campaign this year using this matching process, thereby giving you the ability to speak to more of the families that you would like to start building that relationship with. So let's switch gears now. Not all students are like Gabby and take steps to make themselves available and known to you. A great many students are like Dave, who fly under your radar for one reason or another. So let's just say Dave prefers to investigate schools on his own terms, and as a result, Dave shows up for you first as a stealth applicant. And your likely reaction in that moment is, "Arg, why are we just now finding out that Dave exists? What's going on here?" So let me unwind and rewind Dave's college-going experience to show you how EAB can now better position you to identify and engage Dave earlier. So our story of Dave. Dave is starting his research early, but does not know where he wants to go to college yet, so he turns to Google like many of us do. Unfortunately, his first search brings up your closest competitor's website, and that's not great, right? But that happened because your site isn't optimized in all the right ways to ensure a top listing on the search engine results page. You really need to take steps to raise your rank order, to drive organic search volume, and pull in stealth prospects like Dave when they key in searches that can and actually should be matching to you. So in recognition of how important search engine marketing has become, EAB is now offering search engine optimization to partners. And SEO is really the practice of increasing the quantity and quality of traffic to your website through organic search engine results. The idea is to align institutional goals and objectives with searcher behavior, and you do that through understanding key trends, using site architecture best practices, and really having a strong content strategy on your pages. It's not an easy thing to accomplish, but between Gen Z's high expectations and ever-evolving search engine algorithms, optimization at this point is just no longer optional. So we have been able to help schools like this large public university in the Midwest understand their overall SEO ranking and show them how to improve it. The findings uncovered many opportunities, but I'll highlight a few of them that came out from this audit. One, 52% of pages on this partner's website had issues. In fact, they had over 66,000 issues. And our audit told them what the issues were and what to focus on first and how to fix them so that they could quickly start improving their rank order. And two, we were able to help this partner see that 8.5% of their unique website visitors were overlapping with one of their major competitors. And one of the reasons that was happening was because that their page load speeds were really, really poor. When we looked at the mobile alone, the mobile experience, there was a 16-second load time on a 3G network, and they needed to be closer to about 3 seconds to be effective. So a 16-second load time is an estimated visitor loss of about 33%. Slow load times equal higher abandonments and bounce rates, which for this school was sitting at about 53% of the organic traffic. So there's a lot more here that we could touch on about mobile usability and the content strategy, but suffice it to say for now that it's our job to uncover the opportunities here through SEO work and create detailed action plans to address those issues, and even when needed, help implement the changes so that those things can occur very quickly. Now, good news, in our story, Dave doesn't see what he is looking for on your competitor's website, so he goes back to Google and types in a new search. However, in this hypothetical example, your SEO practices still aren't at a great place, and so the chances of Dave seeing you in your listing the second time around aren't any higher than they were the first time around. Fortunately, there is another way to ensure your message is at the top of the result page when students like Dave search again, and that's through using paid search. These ads, when won, can guarantee you top placement of your message and drive consistent traffic from highly targeted audiences to your website. Now, efficiently generating and converting leads through paid search begins with understanding prospective student behavior, what motivates them to search, to engage, and to act. When managed well, paid search can really build audiences and leads through using both non-brand and brand approaches. Ad campaigns can be crafted to build deeper awareness in existing markets. It can increase name recognition in new markets, drive interest in specific academic programs, or even promote specific events happening on campus. All of these use cases can just help ensure a school sits atop the consideration list regionally and or nationally for a distinctive topic. So for example, this paid search campaign was designed to enhance existing marketing efforts for a medium-sized private university in the Northeast. This school wanted to really boost awareness of key majors and secondary markets, so we set up targeted ad campaigns to capture interest and drive incremental traffic through their Common Application and EAB application too. Over 23,000 total clicks came from the collective ad sets. They drove a 9% conversion rate, which is great, and we were able to reduce the school's cost per lead by 50% within the very first week of launch. We're able to do all of that because we monitor performance daily. We optimize based on leading indicators. We conduct analysis to identify what those new trends should be, and we test creative relentlessly, and then we put the winning things in field. So in our story with Dave, we really have seen paid search do the trick. Dave makes it to your website and he is interested in a particular program, and since he is a Gen Z student, he expects to find that relevant information very quickly. Far too often, the digital experience students like Dave have on your website just really doesn't meet the mark. And that's really unfortunate because your website is your digital front door and it must meet users where they are and with an understanding of who they are and how they act. And since all roads eventually lead back to your website, EAB is now supporting full website development work so that schools can address this issue and ensure top service when it comes to load speed and content and information architecture and design and frictionless user journeys, amongst other things. So As I mentioned, many websites do suffer from common experiences or user experience issues like the ones that you're seeing here. There's often a problem with the visual appeal, and static content exists. Barriers to actions that you really need to measure exist. There are broken links or out-of-date information, pages load too slowly, or there's even missing information sometimes, major contact information that should be available. It's just not easy to find. So these are great examples of what you don't want to do. What you should do, though, is approach your site with insight-driven strategy and make it an interactive extension of what you stand for and your culture. Our process puts an emphasis on user experiences based in data, in profiles, journeys, and outcomes, and we direct and manage the entire website project, bringing the latest and best practice in recruitment to website work. So here is an example of a client we've been working with, and this time in the graduate space. Unfortunately, this school was just in a situation where they had multiple subdomains that duplicated content. The content that was there wasn't very compelling. The information architecture really didn't make sense any longer, and they were using labels and keywords that didn't match how people search today. And in the end, it really was that their site was just outdated and did little to excite or attract users to their program. So EAB was able to help this partner develop prospective student user journeys and really design a strong experience informed by research and analytics. We wrote new copy for all the priority pages to connect and inform and really compel prospective students to take action. And we established advanced analytics to measure the success of the site, which is highly important as well. And we really implemented those additional dashboards to support the reporting needs for the client. Now, I am very happy to share that the same day we launched the new website, the site's health score jumped by about 40% on the spot. So that was very exciting. Obviously, we want to measure what we do here and really prove its value, and that strategy work and that design work and that creative work that went into this build out and this experience was really proving itself even on the very first day. So as wonderful and exciting as that already is, I personally get even more excited that we can now start including UVisit's interactive web content within the body of web pages too. Imagine having the ability to tell your story and convey your points not through paragraph after paragraph of copy, but through an immersive experience that transports students into your content and enables them to deeply explore specific aspects that make your campus unique, as well as just really honestly better prepare them for what life is like once they become a student on your campus.
All right, Emily, let's let you take a deep breath. That was a lot, but awesome to get through, so thank you. Let's turn the page now actually to the analytics-based enhancements. So as many of you know, we set out a vision about 2 years ago for our analytics roadmap, and we called it Enrollment Intelligence. We stated that our ambition in 5 years' time was to become the Waze for enrollment. And as most of you know, we've been pretty busy working against that vision. Based on feedback from many of you, our initial focus has been on how we provide you with the best insight into your world. And that's what you see on the screen: financial aid analytics, yield IQ, application IQ, and now this coming cycle, Enrollment IQ, which I'll speak to further in a moment. Each platform solving a specific funnel challenge, whether it's understanding the likelihood an admitted student will enroll to better triage your counselor's time during yield season, yield IQ, taking our financial aid monitoring work online, allowing for you to directly access the reporting dashboards and apply filters to better diagnose how the class is shaping. That's financial aid analytics, and understanding the health of an applicant pool as it's building. That's been application IQ this fall. This coming cycle will bring the IQs together in Enrollment IQ. As a part of our roadmap, we've also been working on growing and better leveraging our data asset to provide insights and better insights into the world around you. So on the left side, the ability to understand student migration patterns, to use data to target new markets, not just flight patterns and where your alum live. We announced earlier this fall on the right-hand side a partnership with the National Student Clearinghouse. We're sponsoring student premium tracker services for each of you, and we're going to have our data feed in place early in the new year. So much, much more to come on not just how we'll support the more traditional non-enrolling and MELT analyses to help guide your strategy, but how we're leveraging that data set to understand student behavior up funnel, as well as in the transfer and adult recruitment spaces. And then finally, we're introducing a benchmarking service in this coming cycle. So let's dig into the two big new things, Enrollment IQ and benchmarking. First, Enrollment IQ. We had a key decision to make this cycle. Do we introduce another point solution, you see in this box to the left, what I guess we would lovingly refer to as Search IQ, into the market, or do we use this opportunity to both expand into the prospect inquiry stage and connect all the platforms? We decided to do the latter, and I'm pleased to share we'll have a group of partners ready to go live and a beta experience this summer with Enrollment IQ. So what actually is Enrollment IQ? Well, it's a full funnel tool, and it's a one-stop destination for our partners to understand performance, composition, health, and proactively identify prospective growth opportunities and pain points for any stage of the enrollment funnel, ranging from prospects all the way through to yield. You could apply a filter, take that across stages and across classes. You could add custom filters that are relevant to how your class builds. There'll be heat maps that allow for more dynamic planning sessions for your counselors, and this tool will be powered by merging regularly collected data that you send us from your CRM and your student information system with EAB's internal data that provides our partners with a 360-degree view across your marketing and headcount performance. We're also excited to announce that this tool can be updated as frequently as daily. That's really just based on how often we're receiving the data from you, so we'll figure those pieces out, but it should enable enrollment leaders to have the most up-to-date pulse and insight into your funnel. Enrollment IQ will be available for all CRMs, all student information systems, as long as we can create a regular and consistent data file from your institution. And if you've got any questions on data requirements, or if you're looking for a deeper dive into Enrollment IQ, and or if you're interested in being one of those beta partners this summer, reach out to your strategic leader, and we will have a demo available for everyone early in the new year. All right, so let's now dive into our final but not least offering. And this is really how you better understand the world around you, a new benchmarking service that will be available to all partners. Now, the benchmarking service is built on a data modeling approach that leverages two distinct sets of parameters to establish a cohort. The first is understanding what we're going to call the features of an institution. These are the things that are obvious from the exterior: your size, if you're religiously affiliated, your location. We also, though, have layered in what we're going to call a set of funnel behavior features. So your search strategy, your decision timelines, typical response rates. We think both of those are important to actually create models that then determine likeness between schools. And we're able to create proprietary cohorts that really just not only look like one another, but they act like one another. And to make the tool even more applicable and customized, we actually created unique cohorts for every institution, and we did it across three key inflection points within the funnel: search response rate, application generation, and deposits. We'll have more to come on this in the new year. Once again, your strategic leader will have the keys to the kingdom on this, but we're excited to get it rolling in the new year. All right, Emily, I'm going to turn it back to you, and I'd love for you to talk a little bit about what's next in our innovation lab.
Sounds good. Well, our innovation lab is very, very important. We do about 300 or so field tests every single year, testing large ideas and small ideas to just better understand all sorts of things about the user experiences, the kinds of needs that students are having, and really how can we react for you to better serve those audiences. And so we have a lot planned. Here are a few of those things on the slide. I'll walk you through very quickly some of these concepts, but just know that we are constantly really testing in the background as we are also rolling out some of these findings from prior testings, and that is something that really works every single year to inform these enhancements that we've just gone through. So what's coming up next? Senior parent marketing, that's an extension of what we just kind of walked you through with the extended parent marketing work we're going to be doing in search, carrying that forward to the senior audience and making sure that the students that are right there at the action also have that boost in parent experience and communication. Understanding early testing is actually showing us some pretty strong activity there, and we want to make sure we continue to test that to see if that is an enhancement we should be looking at for this time next year too. Persona marketing strategies, we're really excited about this. As Hope mentioned, we've got a lot of research that's been going into this across the last 18 months, already finding great ways to apply those insights, but we also have been kind of issuing brand new creative tests that are in field right now really testing the limits of these insights. How can you change the marketing playbook? What can you do differently to change the way that we think about students and the actual creative that they are receiving? And are the channels differences? And can you save money in one way or another? There's just so many questions that we have. And so that is a very active test set in our learning agenda that we are very passionate about and can't wait to provide insight to you once we have those test results in hand. Summer milk marketing and admit marketing. There are a few changes this year that have just occurred through NACAC, and we need to better understand how do you handle and protect your backyard when things are changing like this. Are there changes in the marketing playbook here as well? And should we better kind of wrap our arms around students in different and kind ways than we do today? We've got a lot of ideas around that. And so we are putting things into the field to really pressure test those ideas. And we'll be looking at those here coming forward into the new year. Pixel tracking, web analytics 2.0. There's so much there, and it comes to just understanding, again, that student's digital body language and how can you add those data points into all the wonderful work that's already going into analysis and reporting. And when you put those things together, does it make them even stronger, those outcomes that we're predicting or those likelihoods that we would expect next? And so we've got a lot going on there. We're really ramping up our reporting efforts and building out those additional data points inside of all those models. So modeling and forecasting is a huge focus of where we are heading. Conversational inquiry forms, the way students are filling things out, will be changing and become more interactive and really help students step through the process and hopefully increase the number of form submissions as a result. But in addition to those macro things, you've got all those micro things across the bottom too. And so we really pressure test the limits of everything. No test is too big and no test is too small, as long as it is serving the student well or the parent well. We know it is a good question to ask. And so lots going on. Just kind of wanted to give you a peek inside the lab and what we are really focused on as next step. And I can't wait to be sharing some of the results from these tests with you soon.
Awesome. Thanks, Emily. All right, so we have covered quite a bit on this call so far, so I thought it'd be helpful to do just a quick recap before we go to questions. So you've got the list of the enhancements on the screen, the student and parent marketing enhancements on the left, analytics on the right, and then the introduction of the UVisit virtual tour. Some of you have and some of you don't. Summer search, interactive offers and instantaneous fulfillment, expanded parent marketing, those are all part of our work in sophomore junior search. So if we do that with you currently, you will have full access to that in the coming cycle, and we'll work with your strategic leader to pick the right combination of things that are right for your campaign. Search engine optimization audits, paid search, website design and development, those would all need to be scoped appropriately for your institution. And so Emily, myself, our new agency team would all be delighted to chat with you should you feel like those are worth exploring alongside your strategic leader. And then on the right-hand side, Enrollment IQ works no matter what combination of partnerships you have with us. The key is to get the data feed going. So we'll look forward to making that real for each of you individually, and the same with benchmarking. So those both will be just part of our overall EAB service offering. Gosh, I know we've been through a lot. I've seen a couple of questions scrolling in. I'll throw our contact information up on the slide, and Emily, I'll start to scroll through the questions while we get connected. So it looks like the first one here actually is a UVisit question. There was a where can I learn more? And then if we have it currently, are there ways to get deeper analytics based on how you guys are thinking about the partnership? So I'll answer the first part. We will be hosting a webinar in January, date to be announced shortly, where we'll do a full demonstration of the UVisit virtual tour platform and answer all the specific questions that are there. So we look forward to as many folks joining us as possible. But Emily, do you want to talk a little bit about what you've seen on the analytics side with UVisit, and maybe how you see us maybe doing more there or doing some of the same?
Absolutely. So the vision and the really exciting picture where we're heading here is that we will be really spending a lot of time connecting the analytics to the work that we do here in-house already, and you're very familiar with. The tour itself captures a lot of data. They obviously can really read out, where are students clicking inside of the tour? Are they going to certain kind of experiences that have been built in? The tour also can kind of share with you, I think, how many students have actually activated different languages, that there is an entire ecosystem of data that is very robust within the tour itself. How it then connects to the EAB implementation of that work is what we are building out together. We're very excited about that. We want to make sure it's reflected and sort of captured in the data that we return and we provide to you all, and that it's kind of built out in yield IQ efforts, and that there is reflection there in the predictive nature of those steps together. And so while we are still very much looking forward to building things out, we know where we want to end, and the team is great, and we have a great vision around that, and our engineering staff is hard at work already working on those connections for everyone. So we already have a standalone analytics set through the UVisit team, and it's really just building on top of what they already have to connect all those dots.
Super cool. Thanks, Emily. I've got another one for you, so we're not going to let you stop yet. One came in asking about just where paid search fits in. So if you do search engine optimization well, you've got a regular audit going, do you really need to spend money on paid search? What's your take on that?
Oh, that's a good question. I would say yes, they are complementary. So with SEO, of course, you earn the right to rank in search results. You pay for that right in paid search. But the reason that paid search is so valuable is a lot of people haven't really cracked the nut on SEO themselves. There are things that they need to put in order. And while those things are quote unquote free for them, they take time. They need to be pushed through the website team. And so often the website team has a lot on their plates. And so it's very lengthy in time in order to get those changes made and to impact that rank order. There's also content strategy that's hugely important when it comes to SEO. In the reverse, and on the opposite side for paid search, it can be incredibly targeted. It is, quick to execute. It is flexible to optimize. It's highly measurable. And if you manage it, you're really optimizing on that daily basis, and you have someone managing it appropriately, it will also stay cost effective for you. So for me, it's a both, not an or, but it is certainly a good question to ask. And we really do help the school take a look at what their particular situation is in order to come up with that right strategic fit.
Super helpful. One more on the parent side. So someone caught your mention of kind of piloting doing more things with parents senior year versus what we've been talking about with sophomores and juniors. Can you go a little deeper into what are the differences? What are we seeing in the results? Anything early we can share?
Yeah, that's a great question as well. What I love about this inside of senior marketing is there is an immediate and measurable impact. Of course, with sophomores and juniors, you're going to wait across time and you've got great early ability to build that relationship out with the family. But when you apply this with newly purchased senior names, can you also see an immediate lift? And early testing is showing us that that is actually the case. So in a very, very early test, an application activity is lifting quite substantially, even in some of the less optimal launch timings. And so I have great hope through testing that we're going to see that this is going to become a very important part of senior marketing in the future, especially if we continue to see the lifts that's coming out of these really early test results.
Awesome. Thanks, Emily. All right. Well, I think we've covered most of the questions that have come in. I feel during the holidays, 2 additional gifts we can give you all. One, the gift of gratitude. So thank you for being our partners, for pushing us, for providing us with ideas. Some of our best work comes from the work that we do together. Actually, all of our best work comes from the work we do together. So we enjoy working with you all, and I know both Emily and I would be happy to speak with anyone individually and or join conversations you're having with your strategic leader on how we maximize our partnership. And then second, the gift of time. So how about we give everybody 15 minutes back? Hope you have a wonderful rest of your Thursday afternoon, and we'll look forward to speaking with you soon.